Here to give us the GOP perspective is Congressman Tom Price of Georgia, a member of the House Ways and Means Committee, joins us live from the CNN Center in Atlanta. Congressman Price, good to see you again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
What is your sense? What have you heard about where these discussions are? It didn't seem to be an awfully productive weekend, but we know they're going back at it today. It does seem, though, that when Republicans and Democrats go into these meetings, there's not a lot of movement.
Well, they're going to meet again today at the White House, as you mentioned, and clearly we've got to move forward on this. And what we believe strongly is that no tax increase has ever created a job, and ultimately this is about job creation. And so we've got to do some short-term things, decrease spending in the short term, mid-term things, a spending cap so that the government doesn't continue to increase its size, and then hopefully long-term fundamental reform, which for many of us means a balanced budget amendment.
Okay, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell said this weekend, and I'm quoting him, nobody is talking about not raising the debt ceiling, and he says that he has a contingency plan that he'd reveal later this week if needed. Do you agree with that nobody's talking about not raising the debt ceiling?
Well, clearly, with the demographic changes in our society, 10,000 individuals reaching retirement age every single day, they dictate that the debt ceiling has to be increased.
Right.
The question is that we're not going to agree to increase it without any fundamental changes so that we decrease the spending at the federal level. That's what the president wanted initially. Remember, he wanted a clean debt ceiling increase. We said no. The House said no, as a matter of fact. So what we need are those fundamental changes so we get our budget in balance and are able to pay off the debt. It's only through those kind of fundamental reforms will we result in job creation in the private sector.
And I know you believe it, which is why you signed it, but you signed the Grover Norquist pledge, the pledge from Americans for Tax Reform, saying that you would oppose any and all efforts to increase the marginal income tax rates on individuals and businesses and oppose any net reduction or elimination of deductions and credits unless they're matched dollar for dollar. Again, I know that you believe that, but do these kinds of things come in the way of a negotiation that might have other components to it that you might find acceptable?
Oh, I don't think so, because I think what the American people appreciate is that you don't reinvigorate the economy by raising taxes. We're not in this boat because America taxes too little. We're in this boat because America spends too much. Washington spends too much. And that's why we've got to concentrate on decreasing spending at the federal level, putting a cap on it, and then putting in place those fundamental reforms.
And let me just ask you, Representative Price, while I understand that you fall into the camp of people who believe economically that lower tax cuts will ultimately create, or tax cuts will ultimately create more jobs, these job numbers that came out on Friday were very disappointing across the board. And there is some danger that if you impose big spending cuts, there it is, by the way, the private sector gained 57,000 jobs in June. The public sector lost 39,000 for a net gain of 18,000 jobs, probably less than 10% of what we really need. Representative Price, the danger is cuts coming immediately could hurt. Does it give you pause when you see numbers like that to say immediate further government spending cuts could hurt more than they help?
Well, I'll tell you, Ali, you know, we somehow think that we don't know how to create jobs in this country. We know how to create jobs in this country is to provide certainty to the private sector, and that's where the job creation occurs. And it's to get the government out of the way so that you don't have this regulatory oppression.
Price, I have to tell you, I'm not sure, and I certainly talk to a lot of CEOs, a lot of businesses. Those are not two reasons that people cite for not creating jobs. You know what the reason most people cite to me for not creating jobs is? I think you know the answer to this.
It's uncertainty in the market.
No, it's demand. It's a lack of demand. It's if people want to buy things, companies will build them and hire people.
But how do you get demand out there? You create jobs so that individuals have disposable income.
It's a good argument, but you and your colleagues continue to say that it is uncertainty in government regulation when in fact I haven't seen a study that bears that out. I haven't seen somebody saying it's uncertainty and it's government regulation.
Ali, I'll tell you,
if there were buyers, you know that businesses will hire people, right?
Ali, I'll tell you, take your microphone out to the streets of America, Main Street America, and ask the businesses out there why they're not expanding, why they're not creating jobs. It's because they don't know what their taxes are going to be. They don't know what the result of the Obamacare, the health care reform is going to be. They don't know what their energy costs are going to be. All these kinds of things result in their inability to expand jobs.
We've seen a number of companies hiring. Are they just, they're over it? They don't mind? That there's uncertainty in taxation, there's uncertainty in health care. They're hiring because people are buying their stuff. You can't disagree with me there, right? If somebody's buying your stuff and you need more of it built and produced and sold, you'll hire people, right?
Absolutely. But 18,000 jobs produced last month. 29 straight months of unemployment above 8% under this administration. Longest time since the Great Depression. We need to get back to the private sector creating jobs, not the public sector creating jobs. The way to do that is to decrease spending, certainty in the market.
And over the last year, the only jobs created in this country have been from the public sector. In fact, we've seen jobs lost in the private sector every single month.
I'm sorry?
Oh, the only jobs that have been created in the last year have been in the private sector. We've seen jobs lost in the public sector every single month.
Absolutely. That's after a huge increase in the public sector over a period of time.
Right.
This is the choice, Ali. Here's the president's plan. That the increase in debt is the red line right there.
Right.
The green line is ours, which brings us into balance, which decreases the deficit and brings us into a ability to pay off the debt. That's the way that we create jobs in this country, is to decrease the reach of the federal government. No tax increase ever created a job.
Representative Tom Price, good to talk to you. Thanks very much for joining me today.
Thanks, Ali.
Representative Tom Price of Georgia is a member of the House Ways and Means Committee and a member, by the way, of the House Tea Party Caucus.